In the latest chapter, Brooke is wondering who Gunko is. And you're wondering why Brooke is wondering? Well, there's no need to wonder anymore, because I'm pretty sure that Gunko is this child. And also that this child and Brooke come from the same kingdom. But let me explain. So this video will be a bit shorter, but don't worry. A longer one on another topic is almost finished. Well, back to Brooke. In the latest chapter, which is 1147, Gunko demands something from our skeleton friend. She orders him to devote his life to her and make music for her. And it's not only a request, it's a command.
Yeah, boy.
As we already know, Gunko is a Soul King fan, but apparently not one of the pleasant kind. But not only does she know him, for some reason Brooke also finds her familiar. And here's where it gets interesting. The first bridge we can build to connect the dots is that Brooke is, once again, being claimed by a woman, but not in a romantic way, rather in the sense that she wants to use him as a kind of valuable slave. Remember? Big Mom had the exact same plan for him. She saw him as a rare creature she wanted to add to her circus of oddities. Gunko meanwhile wants Brooke to play exclusive music just for her. Yeah, okay, and now what? Well, now we already have a connection to Big Mom, and Oda doesn't do something like that without a reason. Because, as I said earlier, I believe Gunko is one of the children who lived in the Sheep's House orphanage, together with Linden and Mother Carmel. Not convinced yet? Alright, it's time for me to bring out my legendary MS Paint skills again. Oh mon dieu! Yep, if you add a few bandages and swap the crown for a police cap, she suddenly looks very similar, doesn't she? If you ask me, that's a pretty good match for a younger version of Gunko. But if you still aren't convinced because you think there's no way it's her, Big Mom ate all the children and Mother Carmel too, then sure, that's definitely a good counter-argument. However, we don't actually know for sure if it really happened that way. I personally believe that Linden only took out Mother Carmel and that the kids, understandably terrified by witnessing that scene, ran away. Also, as we know, Mother Carmel was in contact with the world government and used to sell the most promising children to them every 2 years to turn them into Marines or CP agents. So I think it's very possible that not long after, agents showed up at the orphanage when the communication went silent, found the scared children and took them with them. And here's the thing. I believe that not only did some of these kids become CP agents, but some even became God Knights. Don't believe me? Take a look in chapter 1096 during the rabbit hunt. You can clearly see one of the God Knights. And doesn't he bear a striking resemblance to one of the children from the Sheep's House? Oh! Exactly, and that brings me to the next point, since we're already talking about the rabbit hunt. I believe that's exactly the reason why Brooke recognizes Gunko, because as we know, and as Brooke mentions in chapter 489, he was once the leader of a battle convoy in a certain kingdom. And this kingdom might also have been the place where little Gunko here once belonged. As you can see, this child is wearing a crown, and I've often wondered why Brooke never actually says the name of his kingdom when he introduces himself. So what if he doesn't mention it for the same reason people don't talk about Gold Valley anymore? Exactly. Maybe in the kingdom Brooke was once part of, a rabbit hunt also took place, and the kingdom was erased from history. And little Gunko here was most likely the princess of that kingdom. Now of course there could be several reasons why something like that happened to the kingdom. Option 1. Someone from the royal family desperately wanted to become a celestial dragon, and in exchange for this honor, their kingdom was offered up as prey. Option 2. The kingdom could no longer pay the celestial tribute, and as punishment, it was declared open for the hunt. Option 3. The kingdom rebelled against the world government and was wiped out because of it. There are probably even more possibilities. If you can think of any, please share them in the comments. But one thing is clear. This could very well explain why Brooke knows Gunko. As the princess of the kingdom he once served, she would definitely be familiar to him. Gunko probably fled during the hunt together with her family or other survivors. But either something happened to them along the way, or they got separated. And eventually, she ended up in the orphanage. Maybe Brooke even rescued her and traveled with her for a while, until they've met Yoki. However, Yoki didn't want to have children on board, since it would have been way too dangerous. So they left her at an orphanage, the one run by the Holy Mother, who was widely known for her generosity and kindness. What do you think? I think it's definitely possible. And that could also explain why she loves Brook music so much. Maybe Brook has a style that carries the sound of the lost homeland, and through his music, she feels those old memories and a sense of home. And how fitting is it really that Brook calls her a zombie woman, when he himself is nothing but a reanimated skeleton. He and she both resurrected from a kingdom of death and oblivion. And deep inside I believe she knows exactly who Brook is. Because when she kicks him, her heart suddenly aches. Something inside her resists treating him like that. And now just two small hints that support this whole idea. First, in the same chapter, we see a dream monster that looks very similar to Big Mom. I mean, come on, that's gotta be a hint from Oda, right? And second, Gunko, just like Brook, seems to be using a rapier. Think about it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this short video. If you did, how about dropping a like and subscribing? I would really appreciate it. And I hope to see you again in the next video. Bye!